Welcome back to Let's Clone. My name is Toast, and this is part 2 of balloon fights. In this part, we're going to clean up the player 1. I did make another mistake. There were 3, that's not too bad, 3 bugs in the code for the first part. We're going to fix the last one. We're going to add the 1 balloon animations and the ability to wrap around the screen, and also the bouncing collision when you fly up into a platform or into the side of a platform. So it's not as much as it sounds. We'll get right through it. So first up, in the player's step event, I even commented that I thought the vertical speed was a little bit too fast, and it was. So right here we fly, we increment the flight speed, here we limit the flight speed. I even mentioned directly how GameMaker has negative going up, so the Y value is positive down. We need to set this to a negative fly speed, and we'll get a feel for it when we get into the game, but let's get a little bit more done first. The other thing we need to do is the one, oh, come on, open up, good. The one thing that I had mentioned also in the last one, where if you downloaded this file, then you got all of the sprites already put in which I should have included the first balloon. I forgot to do that, so I'm going to make that now. I'm just going to speed up this clip as I go through it. If you need any help with that or have any questions on how creating frames out of a sprite sheet works, there's a link in the description for that, which is actually me playing around with this exact sprite sheet. Okay, so it didn't take too long. I now have all of the 1 balloon animations. Just make sure that if you do this, as I did, get the origin set to the bottom center. And I forgot to flip the images in that sprite sheet, so you're going to flip those around or just control your X scaling in the opposite direction. So have -1 for the X scaling be when you're going to the right. Easy fix either way. So we have fixed the player object with the vertical speed. We have added those in. There are 2 more things to do. First up, we are going to wrap around the room. So in this game, when you go all the way off to the left, you're going to come in from the right. So let's get that going. It's pretty simple to do. We're going to actually do this after we do the animation. So we're going to wrap around game room. Whoa, Steven. We're going to say if x is less than 0, I actually don't need any parentheses or brackets, then we're going to just set x equal to room width -1. Next, we're going to say else if x is greater than room width, then x is equal to 1. It's actually pretty simple. We're going to clean it up a little bit in our draw event, but let's just play it now so we can get a feel for the new flight speed and just see this working, and I'll explain what we're going to do next. So we've got our guy. He can still walk, he can jump, he can flap. Now if I go all the way to the left, we peek around the right. Now what I want to do here is if we are halfway over the screen, I want to draw the other half of him poking around. So then we actually, I don't know, you get a little bit more of an intuitive feel for if you're close to the screen, you know what's going on. It just looks a little bit better. Also, I want to change one thing. We're going to go into our start Y. We're going to go with -y. It doesn't really make a difference. It happens so fast that we could just ignore it. But right here, we had to start a block above, because if we go on, his pixel right here is actually on the top layer pixel of the ground. So if you just start as is, you're just immediately stuck. I don't feel like writing a script to push out of a block, although it would be useful to have, but we might do it later. Here we're just going to start the Y, we're going to shift Y up before we set it. So we are at the same time creating this start variable, or setting the start variable and augmenting our Y position at the same time. But now, into our whoopsies, adding to our events, we're going to go for a draw event. Here we're going to draw player first we need to draw self, because once you've created this event, if you don't draw yourself, it never will. Now we're going to give ourselves the same similar conditions for if we're now near the edge of the screen and not if we are beyond the edge of the screen. So we're going to say if x minus sprite width divided by 2 is less than 0. What I mean by that is here we have our origin point. Whoa, come on, let me just go where I want you to be. Okay, we have the origin point here. So when we look at our xy, we're looking at this pixel right here. When we checked for the xy to be to the left of the screen, we were checking if this pixel had went past the screen. Now what we're checking for is if this pixel, and since we're in the middle of the width, halfway back, if this pixel is beyond the screen, then we can start drawing the new one. Same thing we're going to do for the other side for when we're peeking around the other edge. But here we need to now draw sprite, and we're going to draw the same sprite. So we're going to sprite index, I'm going to space these out, image index, so we get the same sub-image of whatever animation we're on. If we lower this, you can tell that we need to now set the X position. So we're looking that we are off the left side of the screen. We are getting close to hitting 0. So we're going to draw at X plus room width. Oopsies. We do also want to hit our Y position. Now, you should stop yelling at me. Okay. Then we're going to do an else if. We're going to check if we're on the other side of the screen. So x plus sprite width divided by 2 is greater than room width. Don't need any brackets again. We're going to do the dirty and copy, paste. We're drawing the same sprite, the same sprite and image index, but this time we're going to take our x and we're going to subtract the width of the room. Give that a play quick, see what it looks like. It's a really neat effect, but really simple to do, which makes it double neat. So now if we just get to the edge and we start peeking over, you're going to see we got half a boy and the other half the boy. And he just, I don't know why it's, hold on, let me adjust that quick. So here, let's try something here. Let's try image x scale times our sprite width. Let's try that here too. We do actually need to keep the draw sprite extended. Yeah, because he's still poking around backwards. But it does let us see him if he's facing the right way. Okay, so that fixes part of the problem. Now we need to draw the extended. I had done this but then deleted it. You probably won't have seen that. But we're going to draw extend. We're going to do it to both of them at the same time. After our y, we've got to add a couple things, which we're going to add these all in one line because there's only one that's important. We're going to say image x scale 1 for the y scale to stay the same, rotation still at 0, C white, and our alpha to be 1. Don't zoom. Alright, grab that comma, grab those, paste over it. Good. Now we're going to be drawing the sprite that we're looking for at the same x scale as the player, and we're also maintaining the x scale as we get close to the edge, so we're not looking at our negative sprite width again. So here, poking over, our nose is poking over, we're poking back, we can see our backside all the way through. Good, and it obviously works if you're flying as well, and it stays into whatever animation you're currently on. That is 2 things down. Next up, we're going to go into our room, and we're going to add a block of grass. Alright, we're going to drag this over. We'll make it 16 high for now. It doesn't need to be. But chunk that in there. Because the next step is for our bouncing collision. I need to see a little bit more of this boy. Good. So here we have our collision event. We're going to use our bounce collision. We're going to write it all out right before we go through the actual collision. So we're going to say bounce collision. Here we're going to go horizontal. And again, just like the regular collision, horizontal and vertical are going to be very similar, except for horizontal, we want to account for both directions. Vertical, we only want to bounce when we're flying up into something. So here we're going to say if not place meeting. This one you could do in a couple different ways. We just need to check that we are not on the ground because we only want to bounce while we have less friction while we're flying. So y, +1. So the ground is beneath us. Object grass. So we do not have any grass beneath us, and place meeting at x plus. I want to make sure I got this right. Yes, x plus is sine of our horizontal speed, y object grass. So this collision is checking that we are both in the air and about to hit an object to the side of us. And we do want to check the h speed, not the move h, because move h does release when we let go of the button. We could still be moving sideways. In that case, we wouldn't actually bounce. So keep that as the speed variable itself. If so, it's pretty simple. All we're going to do is take our horizontal speed and equals negative horizontal speed. You could just multiply it by -1, but that's just the way we're going to do it. I'm going to get rid of these just to make this code a little bit smaller because we don't need it. I'm going to do the dirty one more time. Duplicate here, vertical. We want to keep, actually we only need one thing. We only want to know if y -1 is hitting the grass. We don't need to know about our horizontal speed. And then we're going to set our vertical speed to a negative vertical speed. Let's give that a shot. Now let me, oh no, my bad. I gotta get rid of the knot here. Forgot that was there. We want to check that if we do have a grass object above us. I want this to happen before our collision event because our collision event will set our vertical speed to 0, and we don't want that to happen yet. So boop, we're bouncing. Now if we're here and whoa, I miss. So we'll try another lap. Here we're gonna bounce off the side, and bounce and then bounce and oh, tried to hit bouncing off the side. And that feels a little bit more like balloon fights. Okay, last up is gonna be our toggle between the animations. Going from 2 balloons to 1 balloon and adding our death animation as well. And that we need to change a whole bunch of this stuff. So I'm actually going to copy these and paste it and then paste it again. Although I could probably only do one of them and then get around to the next one. So I don't want these to be this. I want it to be, let's see, idle 2 balloons. Should I say it with player? No, we're just going to say idle 2 balloons is equal to player idle 2 balloons. We're going to say walk with 2 balloons. We're going to say slide with 2 balloons. You probably get the pattern here. Fly with 2 balloons. We're going to fall. Guess how many balloons we need. And then we actually don't need to recreate the death. So I'm going to grab all of these. And we need to do the same thing for our single digit balloon boys, both there and here. And it doesn't really matter which one we initialize with. We can actually initialize it right from here because again, we're going to update everything once we get in game. But just because I want to initialize them with the values that the game will start with. So I'm going to give them the 2 balloon idle and walk and slide, oops, and fly and fall. So we're just initializing with the 2 balloon equivalents. We haven't used death yet. We haven't used any of those yet. We're going to get into that now. So let me see, where did I put these before? I guess we could run these after we're live because it doesn't matter. We're actually going to be setting alive to false for one of these conditions. So we're going to run it after the is alive. And we're going to say, what did I title this? Yeah. actions per number of balloons. We're going to switch through our number of balloons variable, balloonies. And we need 3 different cases. We're going to have a case for our 0. It's one that's going to have the most code inside of it. We're going to have a case for our 1. I'm probably not going to comment these because that's pretty self-explanatory. 1 balloon. And our case for our 2. These two are going to be rather similar. We just need to set the animations to be what we want them to be. So animation idle is going to be equal to idle 1 balloon. Animation walk is equal to walk 1 balloon. And then this is redundant yet again. It's equal to slide. And this is why I tried to choose very short names that made sense to me, because I didn't want to have to type out a whole bunch. We'll go with fly next. With 1 balloon, fall. Oops, 1 balloon. And I didn't do this on the create page. I'll probably go back and do it because I'm a stickler for that type of cleanliness. We're going to do the same thing for all of our 2 balloony brothers. All right, so we got everything for our 1 balloon. We've got everything for our 2 balloon. By our number of balloons that we currently have, we're going to set the ones that we currently need. But if we have 0 balloons, we need to change a few different things up. First, we're going to change is alive equal to false, because we don't want to be able to control the player anymore. He's just going to drop right off the screen. Actually, even before that, we're going to say anim current is equal to anim, snim, animation death. Yeah, we've removed control from the player. Where are we now? We're going to fall, so actually I'm going to put some comments in here. Fall. We're going to set animation. We're going to update animations for both of these. We're going to disable player input, and then here we're going to y plus equals vertical speed. I guess if we're going up, we're not going to go up for long, so we'll die and we'll float up and come back down. We don't need to set it to positive right away. If we don't like how it feels, we can always change it. And I don't think there was, yep, one more thing. Then reset balloon count. That is not the O that I wanted. Number of balloons is equal to 2. Now we don't have any conditions to remove the balloons yet, so we're going to do just a down here, temporary. We're not going to keep it. We're going to if, I didn't make a key for it, keyboard check pressed, virtual key space. We're going to go to number balloons minus minus. I think we actually did forget something. We did forget one last thing, or rather I forgot. Here we're going to trigger a respawn. This is why this needs to happen outside of the is alive, so we can keep checking this condition even though the player can't control anything. So we're going to say if y is greater than room height, which you might want to put an alarm on this. We might do it later because this will just trigger a respawn immediately. This is what it is. We're going to say x is equal to start x and y is equal to start y. We don't want to update the balloon count until we are alive again. Reset position, and then enable player input by setting is alive back to true. Let me see, I don't think there's anything else than that. Is alive is true, x and y start. Actually, Don't need to set it there. Here we should set both our horizontal. Yeah, we'll do it here. H speed is equal to 0. Y plus or equals to V speed can stay the same. That's fine. And then when we respawn, we're going to be on the floor, so it's going to trigger the collision anyways. Let's give it a try. If it doesn't work, we can always come back and fix it. So we're flying, we're bouncing. While we're flying, we're going to hit space, and pop, we only got one balloon. The animations work just fine. We face all the directions, we slide correctly. We can still come through the room, we still bounce along the surface. We still bounce, whoops. We still lose our ability to fly. We didn't have enough of a horizontal speed to trigger a bounce. Come on, dude. There. So you bounce relative to whatever your horizontal speed is. So if you're like if you're right next to it and you're not going fast, you're not going to bounce very high. But yeah. Now let's see what happens when we die. Boop. Still pressing buttons, but I can't control anything. And we are back on top. Boop, boop. Ah. That was good. That was good. We are setting... Oh, never mind. I was thinking that the problem was that we are changing the gravity in our live condition. How did we not fall? Y plus equals V speed, and V speed is constantly updating with gravity. You know what? We're going to test out the debugger quick. Open this up in debugger mode. We should be able to look at what our Y and what our V speed are. V speed seems to be set to 0, and I don't understand why. So we're coming here. We're going to open up the player. I wish I could make that bigger. What are we looking for? Right there, we're going to be looking for our V speed. So it should be loading in real time. So our V speed's at -1. Our V speed gets all the way up to 4 point whatever. Okay, it works now. So right now, we have a V speed. We should be falling at terminal velocity. So why are we not? So let's go in here, check out our built-in variables. Our Y is within the bounds of the room. Well, that's wacky. And our V speed is clearly positive. Do we have a mistake with not actually becoming dead? Is alive is indeed false. Huh. Well, I'm just in a pickle. So I'm guessing that we might not be running this code anymore. So let's check out what our number of balloons looks like. Because we checked that is alive was still false. I think I have an idea. I think we might have set, when I hit space, we went down to too far below. Yeah. Okay, so if I double tap space, that's it. So there was no bug. It was just in our tester. Right here, number of balloons is down to -1. So here, if we change this to default, that should change it. Oh, stop. Come on. So two ways that this can be changed. One, by setting it to default. This is more of a test because I'm only mostly certain that this will work. And two, by having the spacebar limit to 0, although you're not going to be popping balloons with space, so you're never going to have that issue in game. Yeah, so now we can make it whatever. Yeah, default just means if it doesn't trigger any of the other cases, it's what it defaults to. We only have the case for 1 and 2. The rest, excuse me, happen at 0. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something about this. We wrap around the room, we bounce in our collision, we pop some bubbles, and we trigger some more animations. We are getting a little bit closer to having this game be done because, again, I don't know if I'm going to do the enemies. In the next part, we're going to throw in the second player. And how I want to distinguish between the players, instead of throwing in a double amount of sprites and give the player sprite for player 2, I'm going to play with the shaders. We're going to write a shader that replaces all of the red and blue values of each pixel So you can just see player 2 as a red boy with blue balloons instead of a blue boy with red balloons, or I guess a red and blue. And they'll change. The colors will change. It's pretty easy to do. Stick around for the next part. Thank you for being here.